Good morning and welcome back to another video, and today is another day of the 0 to Gold Cap Challenge. Now just stick around and enjoy the video. Okay, so today we are going to be going over a little farm that I have been doing, and that is once again doing the Dreamleaf farm. So let's pull this up in my farms, and when it comes to the Dreamleaf farm, we've been doing the Dark Heart Thicket one. Now we did this 2 times and these are the results. We actually managed to get quite a lot of these. I'm pretty damn happy on the way things are going so far with these 2. But today, instead of turning them into sallow pigments and roseates, we're going to take that a step further and we're going to actually start crafting some glyphs with it, because I know a few of you in the Discord have been asking about glyph making. So we're going to make a simply cost-effective way of doing this. So with this is 2 runs, which is 2 lockouts, and that equals in about an hour's worth of farming, as opposed to the 2 hours that we actually spent waiting for the lockdowns and farming. So just bear that one in mind. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to bung ourselves into our inscription, and we're just going to go to have materials, and we're going to start mass milling all of the stuff that we actually got. So the idea is for this to make a cost-effective way in order to make glyphs. It requires us to be able to get a hold of the roseate pigment and the sallow pigments by spending the less time possible farming, so a farm to craft. Now, if we spent half an hour each day farming up Dreamleaf in order to mass mill it into our roseate and sallow pigments, so overall, this is going to be a way in order to actually get the rest of our inks as well, in order to craft our many type of glyphs that we're actually going to be requiring. So that means that we're going to need quite a lot of these, so to speak. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're just going to wait for our mass milling to finish up, and once we've done that, we will then proceed towards doing our glyph making plus getting hold of our inks. That being the case, let's just skip ahead in order to finish all of this mass milling. So overall, we've turned our lovely Dreamleaf, which we've actually got. We need to finish up our last ones that we actually just need to mill, and then we should be golden for that. So let's just finish off milling our Dreamleaf overall, and we'll see how much it's actually worth. Now, our Dreamleaf to start off with was around about 24,000 gold, give or take. And what we're left with is a healthy amount, which is 32,000 gold worth of sallow pigment. So obviously we're reducing the cost quite considerably, instead of just going ahead and buying the inks off of the auction house, which is kind of handy when you're actually doing this. Now, over here in Dalaran, which is the Legion Dalaran, we have our ink trader and all of that jazz. But first of all, let's just get into the Legion glyphs before we jump into any others, because these ones are pretty damn profitable. Let's load up our TSM and see which ones are profitable. So we're going to type in glyph, and then just press OK. So cool. So looking at our glyphs, which ones can we make which are actually worth a great deal? Now, judging by this, we're going to be able to craft quite a few of these. So we've got enough to make 24 Fell Imp ones and all that. So with Fell Imp, how many do we have still on the auction house? We've actually sold all of ours, so we're going to actually then start regrouping and seeing how much we can actually make. So along with that, we can see which ones actually make a decent amount of gold. So we'll make a couple of the Fell Imp ones, as the sell rate on that one is 0.06, as that's going to produce us quite a massive amount of gold. Now, one that I've noticed that sells quite well is the Glyph of Cracked Ice, so we're going to make a couple of those ones as well. And we're definitely going to need some light parchment, because we are all out of light parchment. And then we can then jump into here and just picking any one that has a decent sell rate or a high gold value for this. So definitely the Dire Stable, so we'll craft some more of those, and the Goblin Anti-Flare, Grav Flare. So we're going to do that, and that's going to cost us about a decent amount of gold in order to make. So jumping over to this, we will have a look at Yulon's Grace, and also the Spectral Raptor. Spectral Raptor is pretty damn good. That's 0.08 of a sell rate, so we'll make some more of those as well. And then all we have to do is then have a look at Glyph of the Sentinel. Glyph of the Sentinel is usually the fastest selling glyph. That is because it's used quite a lot, and it's at, for me, a 0.14, which is the highest of all of my glyphs that I've currently got. That is old world and new world glyph making for overall. It's like the fastest selling glyph for me ever. Now, aside from that, let's actually just reopen our TSM and we'll just press gathering. So all we need now is 15 light parchment. So we'll just jump into our woolly tundra mammoth and we shall buy some light parchment. We're just going to buy 10 ton of this stuff because we don't really want to go back. We could spam click, but I have buy all the things, and we're just going to buy another 200 of those, and bada bing, bada boom, that's all done. So now we can actually jump into our inscription and just start crafting. Now, I find this to be an easier way in order to craft glyphs, is just to farm up the dream leaf and craft all the Legion ones first, because they require usually the most amount of gold to craft, bearing in mind what time of an expansion it is. And I find that this one to be a very cost-effective way in order to do this, because doing a dream leaf farm isn't that bad overall, and you get quite a lot of roseate and sallow pigments. Now, the one trick is with the roseate, you can also turn these into, with the ink trader, into a load of other different inks, and the ink trader can also provide you with a load of gold for this. So mass milling Dreamleaf is usually quite good, because you can then turn it into other things that are worth a hell of a lot more gold. So if we look down and had a look at like Moonglow ink, we can then buy that for the roseate pigment cost and cross-reference it. So it's 15 gold min buyout for a roseate pigment at the moment, but we can buy that Moonglow ink that's worth 40 gold. So essentially we're actually saving gold by doing this with the roseate pigments, and that's the key thing that we're going for. You want to mass mill the Yesra Lion seeds and the Dreamleaf, because the Nightmare pods and Yesra Lion seeds will always drop you roseate pigments, and randomly on an off chance you get like one sallow, which is usually quite helpful when you're crafting Legion glyphs. So jumping over to this, we can have a look at which ones are worth the most. If you want to look at the profit for crafting cost, you need to negate that, because you're not going to be looking at that. You're looking at the min buyout or the market value, whichever metric you want to go by, and see which one is better for you in order to get a hold of. So that being the case, it's a great way in order to just craft glyphs at a cheaper cost by just buying out loads of different inks for your glyphs. So we could go back into our inscription once again, type in our glyphs, and then we can then jump down and have a look at what other glyphs that aren't Legion specific that we could actually sell, that actually have a decent sell rate. We could actually have a look at all the other glyphs. So judging by this, we've seen one that is 75 gold profit if we were to do it normally, and that is a 0.11 sell rate. So we're definitely going to want to craft that. Now, is it cheaper now to cross-reference that with our roseate pigments? So it's 15 gold for our roseate pigments. We need Ink of the Sea. Ink of the Sea is worth 86 gold. So we're going to make a few hundred more gold in order to get that, if you get my point. It's usually kind of more cost-effective to buy the roseate pigment and then use that to buy your other inks in order to craft more glyphs for more profit, and then you can then get a hold of that. If you're really getting into inscription and you want to just make loads of gold with glyphs, roseate pigments are your bread and butter when it comes to glyph making, because usually they will cut down the cost of your glyphs for pretty much everything. So just bear that one in mind overall. Now, there are other ways in order to change that, and we will get into this in a second. But overall, we're definitely going to need 5 times by 3 is 15. So we're just going to buy 15 Inks of the Sea, and then we've reduced the cost of our Orca, making us get more profit overall. So we'll just get hold of our other one, which is the ink set, and then we'll start crafting our lovely Orca glyphs, which we can sell on the auction house. 0.11 is amazing for a sell rate. Now, an easy way in order to price our roseate pigments to make more profit, to see if it's actually good. If you're going to make your glyphs with solely roseate pigments because it's cheaper to do so, you can also jump in and do a very, very basic material change for this. So you can go into all of your inks. So say we wanted to change the ink of the sea, so ink of the sea, and currently it is worth around about 86 gold to get a hold of this. So what we can do, instead of using the crafting cost for it, we could also change it by using dbmin buyout brackets or open parentheses and then I semicolon and then the item ID for roseate pigment, then close the brackets, press enter, and then it changes it from 86 to 15 gold 96, which is roseate pigment. And now you can go back into your TSM and go straight down in order to have a look at all of this stuff. So now you've actually changed it on how you can actually craft this for a profit, and it's changed to all roseate pigment for the glyph of the orca. So if it's more profitable for you to do your roseate pigment through that, and it's actually cheaper, it will tell you if you can craft something cheaper for doing that. And you can do this for all of your inks in your materials. Now there are other ways in order to price match stuff and make it more cost effective, such as I could jump over to other things that are worth more. We could just change all of our inks to roseate pigments cost and then back to normal. If, however, you do want to change back to normal, just click on a random TSM one. They're all pretty much the same, and just copy that and then put it back into black felt ink and change that back. And that is that for creating all of the others. So then you don't have to worry about all of this getting mixed around and all of that, because TSM already takes into account the crafting cost for your black felt ink and all of that jazz. So if it's too pricey for you, but it's really cheap for your roseate pigments to craft, then change it to that item ID down below. Now, that being the case, I will leave just the simple thing for going into your crafting reports and going into materials and then changing your inks. Now, don't forget to change them back if it isn't cost effective. It's just a little way in order to see, is it worth it to actually craft with the roseate pigments before you go ahead and use this method. Aside from that, guys, that is pretty much all I want to say for the day. It's going to be a really good day. We've actually managed to boost up our gold in our bags to 41,000 gold just by crafting a few glyphs, which we'll then sell on the auction house. So from that, guys, let's just go into the gold for the day. Now, I must mention, I know that I've got a red mark on my face right about here. It's because I've been rubbing it all day because my face was itchy. And obviously, I'm doing manual work, so you're just rubbing it on your shoulder. That is the reason for the red mark, if you're concerned, so to speak. But aside from that, let's just crack in and get onto the gold for the day. Now, jumping into this, the gold for the day is not an awful lot. It's about 9,395 gold. The things of note that actually sold is Glyph of Fallow Wings, and I stumbled there. That was 5 of those for 6,651 gold, 2 comfortable riders bardings for 1,317 gold, and the rest of it's all just random stuff like some Fury signets and rugged leather and just some shirts and some worn dragon scales. So not overly that much, because yeah, we're jumping back into a bit of farming, just standard farming instead of crafting. But today we have done a bit of crafting because glyphs are very, very profitable, even pretty much every time of an expansion. So now we know how we can spend about half an hour to get the same amount, if not more, Dreamleaf and Yes Reliant seeds as you would doing a regular Dreamleaf farm. That is by doing the Dark Heart Thicket farm, and then turning those into sallow pigments and roseate pigments. And also now we know how to go over to the ink trader and then change that over, and then doing a little bit of TSM meddling in order to see if it's worth it to craft solely with the roseate pigments. Obviously, we know how to change it back if we don't want it that way. But aside from that, guys, that is pretty much the video. Also, I would like to mention that I love the support on the Patreon yesterday. Loving it, guys, and I've actually devised a way when I was at work on how to make it even more better. So I'm going to start implementing that as of the end of this recording of this video. Aside from that, guys, have an awesome rest of the day, and I shall see you in the next video, which will be tomorrow.